I think one of the things that's really important is that you figure out a version of success for you that is totally inside your control. So I'll give you an example. When Ego is the Enemy came out, it sold more than any of my books had ever sold up to that point, enough to debut #1 on the Wall Street Journal list, should have debuted very high in the New York Times list, but then I pull open the paper those days and it's not fucking there. So if success for me was hitting the list, I would have been disappointed. If success for me was selling lots of copies, I would have been happy, but I also could have very easily been unhappy. So for me, the actual success there is whether the book is good. Did I write the book that I wanted to do? That I controlled. Every day sitting there working on the computer, that was up to me. So what you do is you stop and you figure out where you can find success in the things you control. Epictetus would say, is it up to me? Is it not up to me? And you take the stuff that's up to you, and that's where you put the entirety of your energy. That's where your identity can go because you control it. What you avoid is the temptation to say that success is being famous, success is having lots of money, success is winning certain awards. All those things are nice, they're nice as a bonus. But if you put your identity on them, if you put your self-worth on this platter, someone can come and just knock it the fuck over, and that's not what you want. And so it's really then focusing on what Warren Buffett would call the inner scorecard, not the outer scorecard. And I think it's pretty interesting to hear that idea from him, being, an extraordinarily wealthy man, one of the wealthiest people to ever live. He's saying actually what matters is, are you succeeding by an internal metric? Are you doing what's up to you? That's what success is. Of course, there are going to be moments of failure. We're going to have success and there's going to be setbacks. Maybe setbacks inflicted by our own ego, maybe totally unfair setbacks, right? That's the reality. Life kicks our ass. It just does, right? Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will. We are going to be publicly embarrassed. We're going to be criticized. We're going to be attacked. Things are going to go wrong. We're going to fail. We're going to lose. We're going to mess up. Now, here's where ego is really toxic, right? Because if your ego was there on the way up, whispering in your ear that you're special, that you're better than everyone else, that you winning a lot says that you're a great human being, or that having a lot of money makes you the best person around. Well, now what happens if those things are taken away, right? If what you love is what people are saying about you on Twitter, do you actually love that they're saying things about you on Twitter, or do you love how nice they're being? Well, then how do you handle it when all of a sudden they turn on you, right? And so if ego is there taking a lot of this into being our identity, we're really fucked when things aren't going well. This is Ben Horowitz. He's one of the most successful investors of all time. Airbnb, Dropbox, Uber, billions of dollars in investments. He says, the hard thing isn't setting a big goal. The hard thing is what you do when you start to fail, when you start to experience difficulty, when the dream turns into a nightmare. And that is going to happen in life. We are going to have setbacks. We're going to get hurt. We're going to get benched. We're going to get criticized. We're going to drop a pass, right? Things are going to happen. And then how do we respond? This is really where we prove who we are. You got to be tough. You got to stick with it, of course. You got to have determination and grit. And it's also important to remember that for the most part, these are very first world problems, right? We are I think what we want to do is practice gratitude. Ego is always about how can I have more? How can I be better than everyone else? But what humility and confidence can focus on is what we're grateful for, that we're born right now, that we live in this country, right? That we live in a time of peace, that we've been given all the gifts that we've been given. We can focus on what we're grateful for rather than on what we've been deprived of in this very moment. What Warren Buffett talks about is the idea of having an inner scorecard versus an outer scorecard. So an outer scorecard is winning, attention you're getting, social media followers, being promoted, it's being recognized, it's externals, right? But an inner scorecard is a sense of, are you getting better? Are you putting in the work? Are you proud of what you're actually doing? Is this something that's in your control, or is it something outside of your control? And for the richest man in the world, clearly very successful by any external metric, to say that an inner scorecard is more important, I think that's something we should listen to. Okay, here's Nick Saban raising a national championship trophy, right? What's he doing? He's not smiling. And is that because he's incapable of being happy? No, what he talks about is, even when he's winning, what he's thinking about is whether he did everything the way that he set out to do them. Did he win not by the score, like the scoreboard, But did he win by the team following through on the standards or the game plan that they set up? John Wooden, he said the same thing. He said, winning is not determined by the box score at the end of the game. Winning is did we play our absolute best game? And I know that's easy to say. It's very hard to live, right? Can you measure yourself by an internal scorecard of your own standards, not your external one? So this happened to me on one of my books, actually, with Ego is the Enemy. Sold the most copies out of any of my books. It should have debuted at #1 on the national bestseller list, but it wasn't there. What happened? We don't know. Maybe it got screwed over, maybe it got edited, maybe it just got forgotten. But I'd earned this thing, and then they didn't give it to me. So am I gonna feel like that book is a failure because I didn't get this piece of recognition? No, because what I take pride in is that I know that I wrote the very best book that I was capable of writing in that moment. And so pride for me, where I'm putting my identity is not on the outcome, but on the input, right? And that allows me to never be knocked down by these external things. So it's like we must establish our identity in everything we do. Notice it's not about outcomes. It's about what we do, what we put in. And so if you can take satisfaction in that, it not only insulates you from bad times, but it prevents you from being puffed up by your success. So what if you do everything wrong and you still win? Is that really a success? I would argue no. Marcus Aurelius would say what we want to do is accept success without arrogance and to let failure go with indifference, right? We want to let things go, and then whether people are saying we're fucking amazing or whether people are saying that we're trash, right? Because they don't know. What matters is what we know. What matters is the standards that we set for ourselves in what we're doing. You got to reduce the amount of pointless decisions that you make in your life, and you got to reduce the amount of sort of like moral quandaries that you're like, do I do this? Do I do that? Because there's an unlimited amount of stuff you can do. And the more successful you become, the more, like I was reading the Belichick biography, and it was like, it's interesting. Belichick has like basically never done an endorsement or a television commercial. And really? If you think about it, I mean, maybe there's been one or two small ones, but he could make Bill
Belichick, and I like Maylocks.
He could make tens of millions of dollars.
If he supported a brand, the what it would give to that brand would be unbelievable.
But at what cost would that come to the focus of so the idea, like if you think about I don't do endorsements versus I do some endorsements. And this is the Rams, one of their slogans is like, keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And so if you go, this is my main thing, but I also do all these other things, or at least think about doing all these other things, that can come at the cost of that. It's not just the cost of like, okay, I have to spend a day filming this Toyota commercial.
Right.
It's now I have to think about these offers for these 50 commercials, and then I have to see it's the whole process of the distraction. Hey, thanks for watching Daily Stoic. If you want to learn more about Stoicism, you can check out some of our other videos here. Subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. Keep learning, keep studying, and remember those 4 Stoic virtues: courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom.